Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the eighth installment to the Mission Impossible film franchise, starring Tom Cruise, Hayley Atwell, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, and the great Angela Bassett. This film is written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie, and it is, as I stated before, the eighth film in this franchise, and allegedly, the final film in this franchise, at least starring Tom Cruise. Now, I don't believe that personally. I don't think Tom Cruise is letting this franchise go. I we'll see. We'll see. And it really is dependent upon the box office returns of this film. We'll see if this is a big money maker for Paramount and Mr. Tom Cruise, because if it is, he's definitely going to return. But we'll see. Personally, I think it deserves to make money. This was a really, really good installment to the Mission Impossible franchise. I enjoyed this movie from beginning to end. It was very entertaining. I had such a good time with this movie. You know, it's kind of biased in a sense because I'm a huge Mission Impossible fan. I've enjoyed a vast majority of these movies, and you can make an argument that I really had an enjoyment with all of the films, even the ones that were kind of lackluster, and it wasn't many. Out of 8 films, maybe one that you can consider bad, and it wasn't horrible. It wasn't unwatchable bad. It just wasn't Mission Impossible, and that was the second one in the franchise. So with that said, I'm gonna have kind of a biased view of this film going in. And coming off of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, or should we just call it Dead Reckoning, because we don't get a Part 2. This was supposed to be Dead Reckoning Part 2, but they renamed it. And so there you have that. Coming off of Dead Reckoning, the film franchise kind of lost its luster. It didn't, as much as I enjoyed Dead Reckoning, it just didn't pop as I was hoping it would. It has some very exciting action in it, some standout sequences throughout the film, but it's, as far as a story, it kind of left me wanting, and I know it was intentionally made to be a two-parter, so it kind of left a lot out there, but it just, I don't know, the story just didn't connect with me, even though I did love a lot of elements. It was more pros than cons, but it left a lot on the table that I was hoping would, get me excited for this one. Now, I was excited, but not super excited for The Final Reckoning. And I'm glad that I went into it with that attitude because it exceeded my expectations. This movie was super exciting. The action was top notch, of course. I wasn't doubting that at all. We know that Tom Cruise is going to swallow a grenade and blow up if that was going to entertain the audience. He is a true showman. He is the last true movie star. He is the one man who will put his body and life and everything on the line to entertain us. Hanging off a side of a building, hanging off a side of an airplane, hanging or jumping from building to building, breaking his ankle and still finishing the scene, and running at high speed down a roadway in a straight line. Whatever the case may be, he's going to put himself or push himself, I should say, to the limit. And he definitely did it in this movie. We already seen him hang off of a side of a plane in a previous installment in this franchise. And so how do you top that? Well, let's hang on a biplane. let's let's hang on for dear life. Let's transport from one biplane to another. He just did these just outrageous stunts throughout this film, and that was, boy, that was a sequence. That final sequence with those biplanes. Oh my God, that was exciting. Meant for the biggest screen possible. Please go see that in the biggest screen possible. What an exciting scene to watch. And that wasn't the only exciting scene. We had a scene that consists of Ethan Hunt exploring this crashed submarine at the bottom of this ocean or the sea. Super exciting scene. I mean, throughout, man, throughout, excellent action. The story was flushed out a little better in this film. I really loved this movie for the aspect of those of you who are Mission Impossible fans like myself, who has watched every single one of these movies. This is your love letter. This is your thank you. This is your nostalgia trip. This movie found a way to connect every single installment and make it converge into the final reckoning. And it actually makes sense. It touches in on the first Mission Impossible. It touches in on the third. It touches in on Ghost Protocol, on Rogue Nation, on Dead Reckoning. It touches in on all of them. The only one, the only one that is not referenced or a part of that movie, does not play a factor in the final reckoning, is Mission Impossible 2. Even they know that movie was horrible. It is nothing they can use in that film for for this movie to make it better. It was hilarious sitting there watching the movie. I'm like, okay, that's a reference from the third one. Oh, they made a reference to the fifth one. They made a reference to the first one. The reference to the first Mission Impossible that's in this movie is like, mwah, chef's kiss. It was so funny yet poignant, and it actually elevated the movie. I thought it was going to be, when it first was introduced, and as you could tell, I'm bouncing around non-spoilery. When it was first introduced, I thought it was going to be like a throwaway type cameo thing. No, it actually played a major factor into the final conclusion. And I'm like, man, that is cool. The element from the third film that was so throwaway, the MacGuffin from the third film, that Ethan Hunt had to retrieve, that we never got any explanation to why that thing was so important, and no conclude. It was just open-ended, never revisited. We got it in this film. And it just made the third film that much better. When you go back and think about it, I thought this was genius the way they did this, as a final goodbye. If this is truly a goodbye, this only works if it's a goodbye. If this is the final one. If they come back next year or in a couple of years with Mission Impossible, the real final reckoning, it's not going to have the same impact. But I love that element of it. Tom Cruise, man. Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt for quote unquote the final go around here. Probably one of his best performances as Ethan Hunt. He had so much more to do. And coming off of Dead Reckoning, where I felt he was kind of old and just there, it was really nothing to Ethan Hunt in the Dead Reckoning Part 1. I did not like him in there, he had nothing to do. He was just there to run. And you know what I'm saying? To do action sequences. He didn't really push forward the story, and he's supposed to be the lead character here. He's the hero, he's the protagonist, but I didn't feel that in that previous film. This one here, oh my God, he did an excellent job as Ethan Hunt. I love the dialogue. I love the emotional moments that we have, because we have a big emotional moment. I would say at the end of the third act. Oh, not third act. End of the first act of this movie, that will kind of, kick you dead in the gut. But it was cool to see Tom Cruise play off of that moment, and I just loved his character. I really fell back in love with Ethan Hunt in this film. And once again, if this is the last go around of Ethan Hunt, what a perfect way to send that character off. The rest of the cast was great. Ving Rhames, Hayley Atwell, Simon Pegg is a gem. I mean, Simon Pegg is, I didn't think he was going to play such an important role in this franchise after the third film, where he was introduced. That character of Benji was introduced. But, there is no Mission Impossible without Benji. And there's no Benji without Simon Pegg. He is that character. And once again, he got a good hero moment in this film. The comedy worked. The little comedy portions of the film where they sneak in a couple of jokes there, it worked. To break the levity there of this heavy content that was in this film. I thought that worked as well. And Angela freaking Bassett. My God, this woman don't have a trophy on her mantle. I don't understand it. Her as the president in this film. She was in a previous Mission Impossible film. I think it was Fallout. She was in Fallout as the CIA director. Now she's the president in this film. Man, bruh. She was so powerful, and she always is. I mean, she was the queen in Black Panther, and she showed how powerful she was in that role. Earned her Academy Award nomination, which should have been a win, but whatever. She is so powerful, and she holds the screen. You can't help but respect her in this role. I can see her as this character, as the president. I bought it. It wasn't a DEI type casting thing. Angela Bassett can be the president, man. In this role, bruh, she owned it. She owned it. She demanded respect. She wasn't a token. You know what I'm saying? It was perfect. She was perfectly suited for this role. I loved her role throughout, and she had an emotional moment as stern and as dignified as a world leader that she was throughout the film. She had a really cool emotional moment towards the end of this movie that you was like, oh, I felt that. And you can only get that from a stellar actress of her caliber. Man, awesome role and awesome performance by Angela Bassett. Where this film kind of falters, where it kind of fails a little bit, is the villain. The villain, man. The villain. What villain? I mean, we're going up against AI. It's the same villain from the first film, so there's no shocker there. Well, not the first film, but the last film, the previous film. It just didn't have an impact. It's when you have a hero of Ethan Hunt's caliber, you need a villain that's equal to or greater than for him to go up against, to make you question whether Ethan Hunt can survive this mission. Because this is Mission Impossible. It's an impossible mission. And so he has to overcome some death-defying obstacles to defeat the villain, which he does. It doesn't skimp on that, but this AI threat, and they established the threat that it posed and whatnot. All that was, there, but I just didn't feel it, because there was no physical threat there. There was no physical presence. It was an AI. The only physical presence was the character of Gabriel, who is portrayed by Esai Morales, who from Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, the character of Gabriel in that film was top notch. Esai Morales was a beast in that movie and posed an actual threat to Ethan Hunt, and it made you want that character more to see how Ethan Hunt was going to defeat this character. And so when we move over to this film, he turned into this mustache twirling villain, like one note villain. Nothing. There was nothing. It was just tunnel vision. There was no, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but it was nothing to that character whereas he was a threat. And he disappeared for a large portion of the movie, and I'm sitting there at one point in the film, like, why is he even in the movie? Why is he even in this movie? It makes no sense. The movie didn't even need that character, to be 100% honest with you. And that's sad because it was a well-established character from Dead Reckoning, and you wanted to see more. So we got a little more, and you're like, man, I want him to go away. It's just like they really failed that character. And it wasn't Esai Morales' fault. It was the way that character was written in this version, in this installment. Sadly, it's very sad. My other kind of bugaboo is the length of this film. As much as I enjoyed every minute of this movie, I don't see the rewatchability of this movie because it is almost 3 hours long. I think it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. It is long. Now it was good. It's not like it was a taxing close to 3 hour movie, whereas you sitting there, looking at your watch and you antsy in your seat or whatever. But once the movie's over and you realize you've been in there that long, and you go back and you're like, oh man, I would like to see that again, but do I want to sit there? It makes you question, do I want to sit there for 3 hours? Do I have 3 hours to give? Not counting previews and whatever, that's close to 3.5, maybe almost 4 hours that you're investing to go see this movie. But it is not unwatchable. This is an exciting film. Overall, I really did enjoy it. If you are a lover of this franchise, or if you're a lover of great action movies, great spy thrillers, and so on and so forth, this is the movie for you. I think it was a great blend of Mission Impossible and Hunt for Red October, and maybe even a little James Bond thrown in there. It is a really, really good spy action thriller, and that's all you can ask for in this franchise. Is it the best Mission Impossible film in the franchise? No, it's not the best in the franchise, but I would definitely put it off the top of my head, I would say maybe top three, or knocking on the third, is in the 4. Definitely top 5. Let's just settle with that. Top 5. Which kind of sounds redundant when you say that because it's only 8 films. And so it's up there. I think it's really, really, really good, and one that I highly recommend, you go see it in the theater in the biggest screen possible. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning gets a letter grade of a B+. Yes, it was fun, man. It was super fun. Yeah. I can see myself investing 3 more hours to go see it again. It's that good. It is good. It's just one of those things where you like, man, do I want I gotta carve out 3 hours of time to go see it. It's just hard for me to carve out 3 hours to go sit in the theater and to watch one movie. Life be lifing, so it's hard for me to do that. But if I have to do it, I would definitely do it for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I would like to know, are you planning to go check out Mission Impossible this upcoming weekend? And if you are, please let me know what you thought of the film. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for this show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Don't forget about YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for the review of the 8th installment to the Mission Impossible franchise, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.